Hey, Omega.
Yes, Gunner.
So, I just want to know something. What have you been doing with your time lately?
This and that. Mostly sampling fine premium malt beverages.
So, in your drunken stupor, have you watched much wrestling lately? WWE specifically?
A little bit in between bouts of the folly known as Monday Night Football, featuring the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens.
You know, I'm not going to lie here, but I feel like the WWE is like the Cleveland Browns. They had their heyday and they had their amazing periods, but right now they have a hot superstar that they just don't want to push because he's kind of a drunk. But that's okay, because we're going to start the show here because the WWE is the Cleveland Browns of professional sports at this point. Let's start the show.
Well, now's no time for joking around. Just quiet down your chatter. Weekend pro wrestling is no laughing matter, baby. From Impact to Raw to SmackDown Blue, you'll be good at math and science if you only listen to Get Serious. Oh, Get Serious. Oh, Get Serious. Enough!
If I can be serious for a minute.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Woo Get Serious. My name is Gunner. That is Omega BR.
We are sipping a cool Moscow Mule, which would be a good name for Lana. Heyo!
What an ass!
That's my Netchester impression. If you like it.
What? Yeah, it was actually pretty good. You had enough ass in there, not gonna lie. And also joining us this week is the wonderful our technical producer, Mr. Jacob DDS.
Something offensive and probably racist. How's that for a Netjester impression?
Close enough. And there's that Netchester guy over there.
So what can you say to that but, woo, and denizens of the internet, don't you dare go sour. Clap for your panel of power here on Woo Get Serious.
I gotta dumb myself down!
Was that Big E?
No, that
would be a good
that's
chant. SRS. SRS.
SRS. SRS.
So instead of chanting, how about we do something people want to listen to? And that's the news. As of a couple weeks ago, there was no real talk of Sting appearing at WrestleMania 32 at all. Okay, you know the WWE is in trouble when that statement is that actual fact. Like, what the fuck? And the Undertaker was still penciled in to face John Cena. Randy Orton will need neck surgery to clean bone chips after doctor determined his soldier surgery has healed well enough to perform it, likely putting him out an additional 3 to 6 months, so he could potentially be out for a full fucking year. Ryback's line about Dolph Ziggler telling him he went all the way with Lana was in the script, but not known to Rusev and Lana, according to The Observer, who called it a double-cross line. WWE released Brad Maddox due to language he used in a pre-Dark Match promo, calling the Indianapolis Colts, quote, a bunch of cocky pricks. He will now be known as Mad Braddox, which is the best independent wrestling name right now, and he will be using that on the indie scene. He also has a pro wrestling tee shop if you want to go support him.
Poor Beef Wellington.
I know.
Hey, he was one of my favorite Stampede Wrestling guys, but I don't understand. They have a great thing in Brad Maddox, and, they haven't used him.
Which was?
Before Vicky left. Well, Bricky, of course. I mean, do you not think Brad Maddox was funny during the time he was featured during not only the Bricky era, but when WWE had its commercial show on the WWE app, and Brad Maddox was tearing that up along with John Stryker. That's not the name. Damn it.
Matt Stryker?
Matt Stryker, yes. Damn it. Matt Stryker and Brad Maddox were two of the funniest things on the WWE Live app during commercial breaks. And, they get some good stuff going. And when the WWE just decides to kill shit for no reason, you wonder why the fans want to rip out their hair and, go switch to Monday Night Football or Monday Night Bowling.
Well, I think they were probably looking to get rid of him before that, because if he had been somebody important or good, that they considered good, they wouldn't have let him go for saying cocky pricks at a fucking
they were just looking for an excuse, to be perfectly honest, and I think he was trying to get himself fired.
I mean, Punk got in a guy's face and told him he had a vagina. Calling the Colts cocky pricks doesn't seem that bad in perspective.
Honestly, he was really taking up a roster spot because they were never going to use him because he's completely undersized. He's really funny, but he's completely undersized and completely, useless, in the WWE at its current state. Now, I can completely understand why, I could completely understand leaving and asking for your release like Sami Callihan did, and is now, taking pretty much every independent wrestling title known to man, 2CW, CZW, do I need to go on? I think AIW or something like that. A bunch of others. And now he can be on the independent scene and actually be decent. And his price goes up, so good for him. But beyond that, so, honestly, does WWE want to make money? Why isn't Sting at WrestleMania 32?
Well, the only logical explanation for Sting not being at 32 is, they think he's too old to go, which I don't necessarily believe, but 31 wasn't his greatest match in all of history. But people, like it or not, still want to see Sting. Hell, I still want to see Sting. But for crying out loud, if you don't, think that Undertaker versus Sting is a good match, then I have to ask if you've been living under a rock for the past few decades.
I just don't understand why they won't do it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, especially now that Taker is kind of back and he's more physically fit and can do the thing. But again, I think it's, if they think Cena should face Undertaker, if it was anybody but Cena, maybe they would question it. But if they think Cena should face Undertaker, then that's the match they're going to go with. And I'm sure Sting, I would lean toward he will be at WrestleMania and he will do something. I think it's just a matter of, they just haven't discussed it yet. It's not one of their hot button issues like, who is Triple H going to face, or who is John Cena going to face.
Going to get the title, yeah.
Yeah, that.
It just seems to me that there are some sort of, it doesn't make sense, and there's some sort of politics going on.
Well, of course, this is WWE. That's almost a given.
Right. So, okay, we have Seth Rollins and Randy Orton missing WrestleMania this year.
Which Seth is gone, but did we really think during the time Randy was still here that he, did much?
Well, that's not his fault. He's only doing what they give him to do. If they don't give him anything good, I don't blame him for being like, well, that shoulder is really starting to bother me. Maybe I should go get it worked on.
And Cesaro's out too.
Because what were they having him do? Does anybody even remember what Randy Orton was doing before he left?
Randy Orton hasn't been relevant, necessarily speaking, in a main event scene since last year's TLC.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's CLC. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
I would argue even before that. I would argue
yeah.
when he was the champion, when Daniel Bryan finally won it.
We're going to talk about Daniel Bryan here on the 15-minute time limit.
All right. Well, in the meantime, let's talk about TNA's big tour of India, which has been postponed. First reportedly to logistics and security, as talents would fly to Paris and then to India. But later, MSM citing the timing of the tour as a factor. Over 50 work visas and numerous plane tickets have been acquired, though talents will be paid for the tour. AJ Styles had to pull out of Wrestling World Tag League. I really need to practice my reading aloud. Due to a lower back injury, he says was elevated due to his heavy schedule this year. Sarah Stock, who actually used to date La Sombra, may be the one to help teach him English at the Performance Center. The New Japan president was very disappointed Sombra didn't remain with them and called it a massive shame.
Well, hopefully Sombra will either find success in the WWE or decide that it's a bunch of bullshit and he should come back home to NJPW.
Well, a lot of the early hype has Sombra as kind of a big signing. He's got a ton of potential, and he might even be the one that they've been looking for as far as a big Latin star.
Hopefully. What do you mean a big Latin star? You have Del Rio with his big ol', with his buddies now in the League of Nations. That is going to get over.
Couldn't they have picked by the sidebar? Couldn't they have picked a better name than that? I mean, it's not a bad name, but it's very, very big.
I like it. I really like League of Nations.
I don't know. I mean, it does roll off the tongue nicely, but I don't know. It just seems like League of Nations. It's like, I don't know.
Jacob, we were talking about this earlier in the pre-show. Jacob, what was the name of the league of people that were in SmackDown vs. Raw?
Better than Utopia.
It could be worse, Omega. It could be a lot worse.
It could be global elite worse is what it could be.
This isn't the one I was thinking of. I swear there's one where they had more of like the European guys creating like a league or whatever, and I think they went against either the Creator Wrestler or John Cena maybe. But the Better Than Utopia one is basically what the Big Deal Fairly Quick and God, why do I always do this with the names? Anyway,
I kind of like that name, Better Than Utopia.
That's what the Del Rio thing is right now, with the I'm starting my own country and none of you are good enough to be in there. It's totally a ripoff of 2009's Better Than Utopia from SmackDown vs. Raw.
But it's Owen Hart too, because Owen Hart declared his own...
Oh, that's right! So that was even a ripoff of Owen Hart from back in the day. Jesus Christ. Nothing is original anymore. It's awful.
Pretty much.
I'm sad to hear AJ Styles is having to pull out of, jobs due to injury. That sucks. I hope he gets better soon. Yeah. Maybe he'll learn a lesson about, slowing it down. He's not a kid anymore.
Well, nobody could blame him for really striking while the iron was hot and everything.
Right, but when you start spreading yourself too thin like that,
I think it's fine. In 2016, he said he's going to be concentrating on New Japan and ROH only, which is perfectly fine with me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
which means
when
that
you start doing every indie show that'll pay you, though, that's when you're going to have stuff like this where you have to go, sorry guys, but I fucked myself out. And I need to take some time.
Well, he really doesn't need to be doing all those shows, Yankum. I think
that's what I'm saying.
Perfectly reasonable.
This makes me think that he's going to win on the 4th.
Yeah, possibly, probably.
That's what that line tells me. It's like, I am going to win against Nakamura on the January 4th show.
And speaking of not many shows, TNA, and all we've heard about TNA for the past 2 months is this tour of India, and then it gets postponed. And typical TNA fashion, they weren't given. We don't really have a concrete answer. Talents are mad, allegedly getting paid anyway, which is good. They've got this Pop TV deal, which I suppose is good, but
no, it's not.
No,
it's not. Not good at all.
Well, it is for them.
No. Don't be fooled. Do not be fooled, sir. They are paying for time. Literally, they are a paid advertisement on that channel.
They're not paying.
Yes, they are. Yeah, that's
No.
Pop TV was the channel that they were going to have to pay to be on there, and then make it up with advertising.
Well, last week on the news, it was revealed that Paragon was paying, but TNA apparently isn't paying.
Oh, all right. Well, see what happens when I have to miss a show because I'm baking like somewhere in a neighborhood of.
Oh, that's right. You weren't around.
No, I had to. Yeah. I had to bake literally 700 pies or something.
Well, that's the word on the street is that TNA is actually not paying. It might even be the MSN or whoever kind of Sony 6 or whoever sponsors them over in India who's helping to do that.
That wouldn't surprise me. All right. I think that's it for the news, but it's now time for the 15-minute time limit. There it is. All right. So 15-minute time limit. We're going to talk about two things today. We're going to talk about ratings, and we're going to talk about concussions. Now I'm going to pose this as a general question to start us off. Do you guys believe that the Nielsen rating system that we've been judging television on for the past X amount of years, or however long it's been, is accurate? And do you believe that it is a good representation of the wrestling audience currently?
I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you. I think yes and no. I think there are numbers that you need to pay attention to because when you look at the TV business, it's all based on advertising. And if not enough people are watching your program, or at least not enough that were, then that's something that people higher than you are going to take notice of. I don't think you necessarily have to be extremely critical about it. For example, if they dip under 2 million viewers or 3 million or whatever it was, that doesn't mean you have to shut everything down and build up from the ground up, but it is something you need to kind of pay attention to because, we're not talking about a dip from a 4.0 to a 3.5. We're talking about a very steady decline that's happened over the course of the last several years that, despite them being in a really good spot right now with the network and new stars and NXT and even their own perception of a guy like Roman Reigns, everything is still, ratings-wise, is still dipping. So, I think that should be your kind of cue. If you're not going to listen to a general kind of opinion, or, if you're going to keep your system of, you can have as many ideas in the vortex as you want, but they all have to get filtered through a couple, 2 or 3 people, or one main person, then you have to look at those outside factors, and, no matter how accurate they may or may not be, it's still a factor to consider, because, let's face it, if the Nielsen ratings said you got 4 million viewers, then I don't think they would be taking a hard look at their product and saying, well, could be better, here or here maybe.
What about the rest of you guys? What do you guys think?
Well, the Nielsen's, I was a Nielsen family for about 1 week during the 80s with me and my family back when I lived in the old house. And they basically said, write down all the things that you like to watch or that you normally watch on a schedule down in this little Nielsen's book of ours, and then send it back to us at the end of the week. And, you know, I cannot say if people who are normal Nielsen families who have the fancy people meter box strapped to their television set in one form or another are really representative of hardcore wrestling fans, but I think that the Nielsen system in and of itself could use a bit of an update. I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to ratings and stuff, so I have no idea what that update would look like, but you know, if we're talking about ratings and as far as WWE and Raw, we could go on for about another hour describing about what are the reasons that Vince is failing so bad with his writing and his leading of the booking team or creative or whatever the hell you want.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. I'm going to cut you off there. Jacob, do you have any opinions on this or no?
I don't understand why we're still using the Nielsen rating system. It's so outdated. There aren't even... It's like if we were right now communicating by, I don't know, fucking telegram. It's absolutely ridiculous that this is a system we're still using. There's no reason why modern cable boxes can't just report what's being played off of them back to the cable companies, who can gather that data and publish it, and then we could have an accurate reflection of what viewership really is, instead of relying on this archaic, somebody has to remember to write down what they watched. Half the time they're lying. It's insane to use this system in 2015 going on 2016 that was probably invented in the 50s or 60s to see what people were watching. We don't need this anymore. We have computers, we have advanced cable boxes connected to the internet, and it's stupid and I hate it.
Well, I suppose, to be perfectly honest, let me just put this out there real quick. There might be some issues with privacy and networks drawing data from someone directly that might lead...
It doesn't have to report anything other than a cable box was tuned to this channel at this time. Right. That's all it has to do.
Advertisers, they won't be happy with that. They want to know who lives in that house, how many people, how many children, how many, what's your financial status, how much money you make, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah.
Of course, right. And that's where Nielsen comes in, and they actually do, the surveying and the whatnot. Now, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to side more on the lines with Omega, as that it is a good thing and a bad thing. Well, the problem that we're having right now is that since June, Raw rating has gone down 25%. In 6 months, Raw's rating has gone down by a quarter. This is the scariest statistic in professional wrestling in America right now. Why? Not because WWE is going to lose advertising money. Not because Vince McMahon is an incompetent fool who can't actually book himself out of a wet paper bag at this point. It's none of that. The problem is the overall exposure of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is seen as lame right now. L-A-M-E with a capital L. And probably an A and an M and an E in there too, because it's really, really lame. And the problem with all of it is that it's been made lame. There are rumors going around right now that say the people who want to have the PG product are not USA Network. USA Network is not responsible for this quote-unquote PG era. It's the WWE. They want a not edgy product. And so they got soft and dull. Kind of like Nutchester's Belly. Not gonna lie. Sorry, bro. But it's just like everybody else around here. We're all sick of it. We're all tired of it. But it's all building to something. And it's just weird to me that that this tanking is going on, and they for some reason they lost their idea of how to make money or how to make people care about their business. You know, if you don't have Brock Lesnar, if you don't have The Rock, if you don't have Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you don't have all these people that made you money in the 90s and 2000s, excuse me, you know, how are you going to draw money in 2020? Really, that's the question that we're asking here. Because if the WWE doesn't get their shit together and get it in a nice paper bag, and I don't care what they do with it, I don't care if they put it into a museum, you know, or they sell it at a shit store, they just need to put their shit and get it together. That's what they need to do. Because otherwise, professional wrestling is going to go into a very, very dark time. Could you imagine in 1993 if WCW didn't exist? That would mean that the WWF would get boring and stale and probably go under. And then what would we be watching? How I Met Your Mother? Something like that?
Well, from now on, you won't be watching me shirtless doing my whistling dude impersonations. I thought you liked those.
That's absolutely disgusting. I'm going to have to bathe in bleach later. Jacob, can you please give him negative points right now? Please.
Negative points to you for saying bathe in bleach. This is an English-speaking show.
Bathe in bleach. I have a stuffy nose. I apologize. But yes. So my point being that we this is very scary. This is very scary. And it brings me to our savior. The person that we've been dying to come back for the past literally 2 years. Ever since he got injured by Kane after WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan has not been the same since. We've been worried about his head, we've been worried about his shoulder, we've been worried about his elbow. We've been worried about all parts of him that let him wrestle. And we've all been saying, well, he needs to change his style, and he needs to do this, and he needs to do that, and he needs to come back. And then we've been speculating over the past couple of weeks about how Daniel Bryan is going to, is going to be held off of the WrestleMania season just so that they can get Roman Reigns over? You tell me something. With the Raw ratings set the way that they are right now, with everything going on, with all the injuries, with all the crap, do you think that Daniel Bryan will be off of the WrestleMania card this year?
Yes.
It'll look like it now, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back for WrestleMania this year. I don't know if he's coming back at all.
That's the scariest part of it all.
And because I don't think it's him. I think it's the WWE. Well, not WWE as a whole. I think most of it has to do with a certain fucking just complete idiot. Because anyone with any kind of business savvy whatsoever would be scrambling to do everything they could possibly do to get Daniel Bryan back in there and make them a shitload of fucking money.
Okay. Go ahead, Omega.
Well, I'll just say what everybody basically has said already. They have a very tunneled vision of what they want, what they think is going to work. They very rarely stray from it. This past Monday when they did the 5:15 thing, I mean, that was, okay, that was a little interesting. It could possibly draw somebody in to watch later.
18 seconds.
And the formation. The formation seconds. Of the League of Nations and everything. But,
can I stop you there for a second? They're literally taking all of the Daniel Bryan angles that they have been using over the past couple of years, and they are putting them together in not Daniel Bryan people. 18 seconds,
that wasn't exactly the same as 18 seconds.
Exactly. 18 seconds.
Anyway, I'm just gonna bunch in here real quick and say while Gunner was going on, he linked to an article on Cage Side Seats about Tommy Dreamer's return to the WWF and what that means.
His return to the what?
His return to the WWE, excuse me. Oh, caught myself there. Maybe I have a concussion. But his return to the WWE.
We can only hope.
Means, yes, because Tommy has had a series of concussions during his career, which he goes into quite a great deal about. So one of the commenters said there, with all the greatest respect to Tommy Dreamer, and I will read this comment aloud because I think it's very apropos. It says, with greatest respect to Tommy Dreamer, the PR risk around him suffering even more damage in a ring, in a cameo appearance match, is way less than a megastar like Daniel Bryan in a big push. While that's a cynical view, it makes sense from a booking perspective. So is that what we're looking at here, guys? Is that if a lot of people want Dirk Dickbutt, are none other than Daniel Bryan, to come back, and God forbid he gets a serious concussion or more serious injury in the ring, is that what Vince is fearing? Is that a serious PR disaster?
Yes, that is what he's deathly afraid of, considering everyone is having this concussion phobia at this point, especially with the NFL and whatnot. I'm going to put this together.
There's a movie called Concussion coming out in a couple of months.
I'm going to put and the doctor that CM Punk saw and is currently suing him is going to be portrayed as a bumbling idiot, ladies and gentlemen, a bumbling idiot. It's going to be great. But here, I'm going to wrap this up for you. Excuse me. You have declining ratings. You have a gentleman who wants to wrestle. You have a doctor who has cleared this gentleman to wrestle. Your own doctor, who is an incompetent idiot, has decided to not pass him on the WWE spectrum of things. They are both sports professionals. They are of equal opinion, and apparently there was a magical third doctor a couple months ago that Daniel went to go see, and that would determine his fate. If the WWE is serious about making money, and that the WWE will actually do something good this year, Daniel Bryan will come back and win the Royal Rumble, or something like that, and make his triumphant return before WrestleMania. This is pretty much, at this point, he and he alone has the power to be able to get people back into wrestling again and to care about them. Not Vince, not Triple H and the Authority, not Sheamus, not Seth Rollins, not Roman Reigns, not Dean Ambrose, not anybody else. The goddamn roster is going to be able to do that. And if you think that the WWE has any chance with anybody else at this point, you have another thing coming, because they have no idea how to book them. I am angry about this, and I am sure that everybody else is too. Where's my goddamn buzzer?
Well, there were still 20 seconds left.
I know, I wanted to end that, make sure I got everything in.
Well, I mean, no, because there's still 10 seconds. Everything that Gunnar said is okay, I guess, and I sort of agree with it, but fuck that guy still, because... Nope, still not it. 1 second. 1 second left.
There. Better? I have a sore throat and I want ice cream.
Popsicles all around.
Matt Dexter has a sore butt and he wants a popsicle, so let's,
There we go. Drive through.
Popsicle! Can't get read the ratings.
Let me switch over to the format here from the points. For the ratings, we have Impact at 234,000 viewers, up 16% from the previous 202,000, while ROH did 141,000, which is up from 114,000. Then we have SmackDown, 1.652 million, down from 2.29 million, and Raw is delayed. That's weird. SmackDown, or Impact and ROH go up, while Raw and SmackDown go down.
Whatchamacallit? SmackDown kind of played during Thanksgiving.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So it was the Thanksgiving SmackDown.
Yeah.
This is not surprising.
Yeah. With the birthdays, that one guy who does stuff sometimes that annoys me, and by sometimes I mean just
all
his very presence makes me want to slice my wrists.
Matt Chester,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a little important thing called the name right there. But moving on, today we have birthdays beginning with December 1st. And Trinity to begin our birthdays, and Norio Tatino. Noryu? No. Okay, somebody want to jump in here? This one's hard.
Norio Tateno. You were close.
All right, thank you. On the second, this one looks like I can actually handle it. Gensi Senzaki. Okay. On the third, we have Ricky Chosu and Super Crazy. On the fourth, we have the lovely Brooke Adams and Sylvester Turkai. On the fifth, we have one of the legends of the British Bulldogs, Dynamite Kid, and the living legend, Larry Zbyszko. On the sixth, we have the Nick Bockwinkel, plus Spike Dudley and Olympico. Then, rounding out the week, on the seventh, we have the legendary Bruiser Bedlam, Mr. Curtis Hughes, Dean Ambrose, Rick Rude, Sonny, and Maya Fire Angus. Angus, that reminds me, I need to go get some steaks and chops, Christmas dinner coming up.
Yeah,
I'd like to steak your chops.
That was an Irish broad. And now it is time for This Week in Wrestling with Omega BR.
Yes, this week in wrestling history, circa 1961, where Billy White Wolf defeats Nikolai Volkov for the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title. Jump to 1971, where Donnie Fargo defeats the Wrestling Pro in Mobile, Alabama, to win the NWA Gulf Coast Heavyweight title, ending the Pro's third reign and beginning Fargo's second. And in 2000, the American Dragon, also known as Bryan Danielson, and Spanky, also known as Brian Kendrick, defeat the Triad of Seven and Thrash to win the Memphis Championship Wrestling Southern Tag Team title in Manila, Arkansas. And that was This Week in Wrestling History.
Happy Trails to Matt Hardy, who received 38 stitches after losing the WrestleCade Championship to Jeff Jarrett, after Jarrett's guitar failed to break correctly. And happy trails to Wesley Blake, who was arrested for DUI on July 3rd, with video of him refusing a breath test surfacing. And I believe it's time for some points. And, hey, Yankum, remember that thing we talked about when I called you on the Skype? I hope you factored it.
Well, here's the thing. Didn't you call the Skype and it was broken?
It was.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I fixed that.
Did you?
Well, yeah. Anyway, the points this week. Negative 816 points to Net Jester. I was behind on giving him negative points for showing up. So I went ahead and got those in there. Negative 10 points to Net Jester to Gunner, because his opening joke sucked almost as much as the Cleveland Browns. 10 points to Omega BR for a dead-on NJ impression. Negative 5 points to Omega for some reason that I forgot to write down. It happens. It's live. Fuck it. That's how we'll do it. Negative 10 points to NetJester, because people like you having Nielsen ratings power is why we can't have anything nice. Negative 5 points to Gunner, for the Blade and Bleach thing. Negative 500 points. Hold on, we're getting a Skype call, and it's Gunner apparently testing if this is working now.
Check, 1, 2. I'm really just testing to see if this is actually calling in.
It is just
it is working.
It's working fine.
Sweet. All right. I was just checking. I didn't interrupt your segment.
There may be a little bit of lag. You'll have to tell me. It's a few milliseconds, if much of anything.
That was kind of normal.
Well, there you go. You people should be calling in. I put it out on the Twitter at the beginning of the show. Nobody called except for somebody that was already on the show, and that's just how pathetic this thing is. Negative 1,000 points to all of us. Speaking of negative points, negative 500 points to NetJester, because the mental image of you shirtless is horrifying. Negative 25 more points for NetJester for Get the F Out. No, really, get the fuck out. And finally, negative 15 points to NetJester because listening to NetJester read Japanese names is like watching a porno starring retards. Nobody knows what's going on, and it's just kind of embarrassing for everyone involved. So for the show, we have negative 1,366 points for NJ, bringing him to negative 34,384 points overall. Negative 15 points for Gunner, bringing him down to 380 points from the 395 he had in the previous show, and 5 points for Omega BR, bringing him up to 560. Vassar got 0 points because he was not here. That bastard. That's it for the points.
What should we watch this week in wrestling, NetJester?
Well, I'm going to go out on the limb here, and first of all admit I actually sat through the last segment without falling asleep. But the second limb I'm going to go out on is the fact that, believe it or not, I thought that the coming... And no, it's not in that way.
Whoa, this is a family show, NetJester.
Of the League of Nations was actually pretty well handled. So I want you to go back and I want you to take a look at the coming, quote unquote, of the League of Nations. We actually might have something there.
Can you stop saying coming?
WWE will just forget it in about a month or so anyway, so whatever.
Coming around the bend here. Yank 'em.
Jesus Christ. This is my fault for saying the watching porno starring retards thing, right? I brought this on myself. Anyway, fuck me. The deal
Are you
segments
saying
were the best part
we
of
might
all
have to
time.
release NetJester?
God, that's it. I'm done. I quit forever. I mean it this time.
Yeah, not even your dogs believe that.
All right, so let's bring this segment to a head here. Omega BR, what should we watch this week in wrestling?
I think you should watch Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes versus Ted DiBiase and Virgil at the 91 Royal Rumble.
I think that was...
Well, because we saw Goldust on Raw, and he's still. Granted, he basically jobbed to Del Rio, but he's still in the prime of. Well, not the prime, but
Yeah,
he's as good as all this hoopla about the Undertaker, and the Undertaker has wrestled longer than Goldust, but Goldust can still go, and he's been going for a lot of many years, so
I've been watching some old wrestling lately.
Yeah.
Mostly classic Puro from the early 90s.
Oh, here we go. Now Gunner's going to be that guy on the show. I really liked this one match that two people have heard of in Japan at this
Mitsuhara
show that two people showed up.
Mitsuhara Misawa versus Kenta Kobashi on the 25th of October in 1995.
Okay, that's fine.
It was awesome. That's all.
That's something that's people I've heard of. I was expecting the smug internet smark. You know what I'm talking about.
I know. I don't care enough to go that far into it. Come on, man. I was just watching some Puro the other day, and I saw that match. And
I just happened to be watching some Puro. No big deal.
You probably haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, right. Spoiler: I fucking haven't, because I don't speak Japanese. I wish I spoke Japanese.
I think it's funny that we started off the show with saying that NetJester was the racist one, and here you are.
What? What are you talking about? I just said I don't speak Japanese. That's not racist. I don't speak fucking.
All right, before we get into any more trouble, let's end the show. Thank y'all for listening very much.
Either.
You can go to
seriously, fuck the Swedes.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Smarksnark.com.
Facebook.com/SmarkStark, Twitter.com/SmarkStark.
Fuck Denmark, too.
Just stop it. Twitter.com/SmarkStark. Facebook.com/SmarkStark. I don't even remember where we were. SmarkStark@gmail.com. 812-408-9666. 812-408-408. Woo! Finally, Jesus fuck.
I thought you were cracking.
Yankum.
That was the whole point, of what I was trying to do there. I was trying to get you to crack.
And that's it. That's all. Thank you all for listening. We wish you well in your past, present, and future endeavors.
Yeah, don't say fuck the Netherlands. Jessica Love will never speak to me again.
Doesn't she have a restraining order on you?
Well, I won't go into it here.
Minus the order part.
Oh!
Good night, Chino.
Fuck you, Scotland!
Hey!